truth can blow your mind. So I spend a lot of time in my own head, right? I'm a science writer, but I'm also a creative writer. So I spend a lot of time writing in my own head and thinking in my own head. And the things that I think often follow the same kind of track. You know, they're often the same kind of ideas. So I really try and explode out from that. I try and break my pattern of thought by putting new inputs in, and true stories are where this really has value. One of my books, this book here, it's called Zeros and Ones, and it's a human history of computing. So in this, I look at all the people who invented computer games and computers and who make it possible for us to like have this conversation right now across the internet. And like, what were they like as children? How did they come to be the people who invented modern computing technology? How did that happen? And one of my favorite true stories from this, seriously, I couldn't believe this. So round about the Second World War, there was this guy called Josef Kates. And he hated school, right? He was just your ordinary teenager. He was living in Germany, did not like school, did not like maths, not interested in any of that stuff. So he was just going along, being an ordinary teenager. And then the Nazis came to Germany. And so he was like, whoa, I'm out of here. So he and a bunch of his friends ran away from Germany. They escaped the country. And they went all the way to England. And they were like, yeah, we finally made it to England. And the English said, we do not want you here. We think you're a spy. So he was sent away. He was sent to Quebec in Canada. And he was put into like a prison camp. And there was no school there. All of the adults were working chopping wood for 20 cents a day. And he was just sitting there with his mates, twiddling his thumbs, going, whoa, life is different now. And he started to think, well, maybe school wasn't that bad. Like maybe I could actually do with some school. And so the adults in this prison camp started to teach the kids. And they taught them maths, and they taught them physics, and they taught them English, and they taught them physics. And because there was no paper, they did all of this teaching on toilet paper. So he learned all of his year 11 and 12 maths and science on toilet paper. And they were given the chance to set their exams, like to set their end of school exams. And he got the top mark, not just for the students in the prison camp, but for all of Quebec. What? Learning on toilet paper. He didn't even have textbooks, right? So this guy, he then thought, yes, I want to go to university, I want to study, I want to become an inventor. But he wasn't allowed to go to university because the war was still on. So he was sent to a factory, right, to make guns. But he was still so passionate. So after he'd finished making guns during the day, he went home and studied science and maths at night off his own bat. Like he was just motivated to do it. And when the war finally ended, he was accepted into the University of Toronto, and they only had one computer there. This is so old, right? Can you believe it? The university had one computer, and it took up the whole room. It was enormous and old and clunky. And he looked at it and went, I can make this faster. So he invented a way, and he came up with this really cool kind of transistor thing that was like much, much faster than the ones they were using. It was going to make the university computer heaps faster, and it was going to make him a whole bunch of money, right? Yeah, I'm going to be rich. So to spread the word about this cool new invention, he made a computer game. What else would you do? He made a computer game. And the computer game was called Bertie the Brain. And it was like, let me get this straight, it was 4 meters tall. 4 meters tall. So a computer game 4 meters tall. And do you know what it did? Tic-tac-toe. So he needed this massive computer just to play noughts and crosses. And it used his new invention, so it was much, much smaller than any other kind of computer. And it was hugely popular. It went on display in 1950. People came from all over the country to play on this cool new game. And that's how Joseph, I keep calling him Francis. That's how Joseph went from just being a teenager in a prison camp to being an amazing inventor. And you know, every time you get stuck at traffic lights, every time you have to stop at a red light, the guy who invented traffic lights, that green, orange, or green, yellow, red, was him. It's the same guy. So these kind of hidden stories, these amazing stories of ordinary people who change our lives so much. It has a sad ending though, because you know Bertie, the computer, at the same time that he was being invented, heaps of other computing stuff were being invented, and the modern transistor was being invented as well. And that was so cool and so fast that Bertie just couldn't compete. And so he just got taken apart and sold for scrap. Oh, but we still have traffic lights. We still have traffic lights, unfortunately.